So yeah, yesterday was a spring equinox, and this kind of fits around this period. Just some spring fragrances, and you know me, I love my kind of pagan-y festivals. They're important. We should hold on to things like that. They're generally not full of hellfire and bigotry, so they're good things to hold on to, aren't they? Obviously Ostra is what we're talking about, and that is it's kind of an ancient one based around the fertility goddess Istra. It's Germanic, and it's to celebrate rebirth and you know, everything coming back to life and stuff. Sound familiar? I wonder if the Romans stole the festival and made up some nonsense. Well, that's what Christianity is. And also Istra is kind of a bit based on Demeter, which I don't know which one came first, but they obviously influenced each other. And that's all it is. It's just spring fragrances based around them. And because it's me, it's obviously, I've decided to go for a wholly indie type fragrance video. So I get it. I know people are wanting to see things that we know and designers and all that jazz, and there's certainly plenty of them videos about. So let's get started. So going with a kind of rebirth and all that kind of thing, the first symbol of Ostra is eggs. So if you're ever wondering what the heck eggs have to do with Easter, here you go. So I suppose they're all about birth. Was the chicken or the egg first and all that jazz. And what I've picked for that is obviously a chocolatey fragrance from One Way Bridge called Forevamour. And this one, spoke about it before, is one of Elisa's great creations. It is primarily chocolate, but it's like a powdered dusty chocolate with dark chocolate. There's like nuances of strawberry and things like that, and there's a gorgeous woodiness in the base, and this typical Elise magical musk. And it's just like, it's not like what you'd expect from a gourmand, as I say, because it's quite so crumbly, and the smells in it are kind of natural and not overly sweet. It's not a sickly thing, it just all goes together really nice. And again, that it's like a raw chocolate. I've never smelled a raw chocolate, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to stick with. And again, musks, magical musks. It's a really sensual, kind of seductive chocolatey one. Again, would you call it gourmand? Kind of, but like I say, it's not your kind of over the top one. So yeah, that's all I really need to say. Again, don't worry, the strawberry and things like that are not too prominent. It just kind of, I think there's rose or something. It kind of just emphasises that little sweetness in the background with the darker, richer, dry chocolate. So that's Forevamour from One Way Bridge. Now the next symbol is rabbits. I think we all associate them with spring, don't we? And I've kept it clean. It's not a kind of frisky relation. There's no carrots, so I don't think I don't particularly like carrot seed in fragrances and stuff like that. So we've gone for one that kind of, you know, raspberries are starting to come through and the fruits and all of that. So that's the direction we've gone here, and that's Olfactive O, fruity. And the reason this one fits the kind of the scene of the rabbits is because I think they chew on raspberries and things like that, don't they? It's a very natural smelling fruity one. This is not just the berry bushes and stuff. This is the whole green around it. It's got a certain, you know, like raspberry leaves and black things like that. They have a kind of slight mintiness with the greenness there, don't they? And it just all kind of goes around with the sweeter, more natural things. Say strawberry, raspberry, but it actually smells like a strawberry or a raspberry, not some jam sweetened synthetic thing. It's really natural smelling. And when you see rabbits and stuff, they are kind of pondering about in the little thickets and bushes and rolling about and being very happy. And obviously they need all that fruit for energy, for what, you know, rabbits do. And again, I think they're a great symbol of this kind of springtime, aren't they, pagan or not? because it's when they start to reproduce, like all of us, to be fair. I think given how much rabbits are at it, they kind of represent that. And again, it goes with the whole fertility thing and things like that. And this again is why we have rabbits at Easter, the spring, and also this kind of pagan connection. So that's Olfactive O fruity. Next up is butterflies, is the next symbol. And now butterflies in this country are more very late spring, kind of more pushing into summer, but that's because we tend to get our flowers bloom much later, because spring starts, kind of stops and starts, and ends up coming much later on in the year. But what I've picked for that is from April Aromatics, and it's a fragrance called Purple Rain, which is again another one I've spoken about. And this is all like purple florals, which tend to push through towards the end of spring, don't they? I mean, here we get bluebells, hyacinths, they're kind of our natural kind of thing, but in other countries violets are spring flowers, and these are all kind of in this fragrance. It's just got this really beautiful, fresh, wonderful purple smell. And purple flowers tend to have that little bit of sweetness, that little bit of powderiness. It just makes you happy, doesn't it? And then obviously the butterflies will go for these sweeter flowers because they have more nectar and stuff. So like I say, Purple Rain is hyacinth, violet leaf. There's a greenness about it, again creating that kind of natural kind of landscape and smell of where the flowers would grow. It's quite fantastic actually. Hyacinth, there might be wisteria, things like all purple flowers, and it's a magnificent fragrance. I don't need to waffle, but when you smell this, you do get that image in your mind of, I don't know, the little violet flowers waving about in the sea of green, and the little butterflies going in to do their thing. I know they're not bees, I know they don't drink the nectar, but they're obviously attracted to it, aren't they? So that's for butterflies, is April Aromatics Purple Rain. Next, obviously related to that one, it's obviously spring flowers, and particularly what sticks out, especially here in the UK, is narcissus flowers, daffodils, and they start to cover everywhere. They grow literally everywhere, don't they? It's something one good thing this country did in the past was plant lots of daffodil bulbs, so you just get this sea of yellow everywhere, in the most random places, in the middle of motorways, fields, people's gardens, paths, hospitals. They're just everywhere, and they have such a beautiful smell of spring, that kind of sharper yellow, greeny kind of slight sweetness there. It just smells of spring, as we know. And Dryad is obviously, it's a more modern sheeper, but the narcissus is kind of the star of it, with the other dry florals and the dry herbs and stuff. Obviously we don't get that sort of heat here, so it's not as dry here, but you kind of get that idea, and I think it's a perfect representation of spring flowers, and the magic of a narcissus flower, isn't it? Don't need to waffle on. That's Dryad from Papillon Perfumes. Next is linked to that again, and obviously this is a really important thing, and again it links back to the kind of fertility goddess and nature. Seeds. Now I don't have a fragrance that smells of seeds, do I? Obviously, but it's the beginning of blossoms and things like that, are kind of where the seeds fall from the blossoms, and obviously the forever cycle of life and all of that. And obviously as humans we'll plant seeds in the spring so that the harvest is ready for the autumn. And I've gone for where the Linden blooms, which is from Perfumery. Now this one, oh god, when I first smelled this one, honestly I smiled my head off. It's this big, bright, unbelievably kind of happy, sunshiny linden blossom, which linden blossom, they say it's a bit limey, it is, but it's kind of got that citrus kind of freshness, there's a bit of sharpness there. And I think there might be ylang ylang and bright flowers in this as well, and it just takes you to, like, you know, where the sun starts to shine for the first time, and then the blossoms start to push through and give you really terrible hay fever. It's that kind of feeling, and it's just because it's so bright and it's so sumptuous, and it's, like I say, the linden blossom really shines, and it's magnificent. It's just a smiley fragrance in it, and it, as good as I can find anything to represent seeds, I think that's a perfect one. So yeah, that's for seeds is from On Perfumery, and that's Where the Linden Blooms. Next is a twosome, but we'll separate them. It's the sun and the moon, so obviously we're going to start with the sun for obvious reasons. And these are in perfect balance around springtime. Probably the amount of lightness and darkness is equal, isn't it? And that's one of the good things about spring. We're moving out of the darkness and the light starts to come through more and more. So what I'll pick for the sun is called Solara, and that's from Hal of Hove. This again, to me, I'm not sure what's listed, I'm not going to lie, but to me this does smell like narcissus and beautiful kind of English spring flowers. So I don't know, what's an English spring flower apart from narcissus? You know, it's maybe these things don't smell, but you can see tulips and things like that. It doesn't smell of tulip, but you get all these kind of sea of yellow and kind of brightly coloured flowers which blossom in the spring. And then the sun, it just smells warm because of that yellow floral smell. There's probably mimosa in there, which again, as we know, mimosa was in the last one, by the way, Where the Linden Blooms. It just is this furry, fuzzy sunshine, isn't it? And again, not sure entirely what's listed, but it reminds me a little bit of Fate Woman from Amouage, in the sense that it's just got that floral bloom about it. It's not as spicy or anything like that. There's a hint of something like that, a hint of greenness in there, but it just smells of the sunshine, mimosa, narcissus, that kind of thing. I don't think there's ylang in this one. It's not kind of on that tropical level, but it's a beautiful fragrance. So that's from Hal of Hove, and that's Solaris. Next is obviously the moon, because I think the spring equinox officially is after some moon, full moon or something or other. I don't know, I'm not very down with this kind of thing. But for the moon, oh come on, Lunar Dust from Mabelle or Rama. And this one is, well, obviously it represents the moon, but it's this kind of dusty, effervescent, full of life, molecular kind of iris thing. It's not waxy or anything like that. It's a kind of powdery, like iris oris, and it smells grey and it smells bright, and there's a nice woodiness about there. It's very musky. It's just like if you were sat on the moon in all that brightness and the radiance, looking down at the spring and stuff. And obviously again, like I say, this balance between the sun and the moon, the light and the dark, is really what spring is, isn't it? It's like everything coming back to normality. And because they're so balanced, life flourishes, doesn't it? You need that equal amount of lightness and darkness. Everything has its equal chance to bloom and blossom and come alive. And again, because of the kind of life in this fragrance, I think it really represents that. Even though obviously the moon we think of as darkness, it's not really, is it? It's the light in the darkness. So yeah, anyway, I'm waffling on. That's Lunar Dust from Mabelle or Rama for the moon. Next is the greenery. That's kind of an obvious one, but that's kind of more or less the last symbol of it. Everything becomes green, doesn't it? All this look at the soil now is like this lovely kind of dark colour because it's got moisture and it's got all the green around it. Not everything's dead. Alright, all these trees are looking a bit worse for wear, but soon they'll start to get little buds on them, like there. See? Start to get the little buds of life and that. And it's again, it's one of the most exciting things as we move out of winter, isn't it? I don't like green fragrances particularly, but when you're going through that darkness of winter, you just badly want to smell the green everywhere, don't you? And what I've gone for this one is from another British indie band called Rook, and it's called Undergrowth. Now, what I smell from this is very different to the listed notes. There's lots of things. You do get a kind of mintiness, There's lots of kind of green notes, galbanum and things like that, I think, and violet leaf possibly. But what it actually smells like to me is nettles. And I know nettles always sounds really weird. You've heard me talk about it in other fragrances. It takes me to childhood, and I grew up in the countryside, more so than this, like the Peak District, and there was nettles everywhere. Now nettles do sting, and they are very painful, but they don't sting all the time, which is weird. And things like nettle soup and things like that are quite traditional where I'm from. They probably are all over, but just particularly, it has a very distinctive smell. It is a little bit minty, but it's green, and that's just what this fragrance smells of. So obviously it's them times when you can go out and play, and you could stay out a bit later because the sun sets later and stuff like that, and it just immediately transforms me to better times and spring again. So yeah, for greenery is Rook's Undergrowth, because it smells of nettles basically. And finally is Erstra, who is the goddess of spring and this particular festival. She's a fertility goddess, obviously fertility for humans, animals, plants, crops, and so she's obviously very similar to Demeter, the Greek god. And all sorts of, I mean, obviously Christianity and stuff steals elements of all sorts of religions, doesn't it? But in my mind, I don't think I've actually seen a visage of her, a vision of her. I see her as quite fairy-like, because again, these kind of pagan things and stuff. She's not the queen of the fairies, but that's kind of the image I get in my mind. So I'm going purple florals and things like that. Her little flappy wings as she sprinkles the magic over the dead wintry earth and brings it back to life. This is nothing to do with it. This is my mind. I don't know the exact facts behind her. So I've gone with Dancing with Strangers, which is from 461 Tuesdays, and Tessa, I just want to call her Tessa Sanderson. We'll just call her Tessa. It'll be up on the screen, won't it? And this one it's kind of this purpley, dusty, beautiful, powdery, musky, magnificent kind of makeup-y one. You know, like a vintage kind of one. But what's in this one and what makes you think of spring and makes this one different? There's a big blast of honeysuckle, which is a kind of sweeter, greener, yellowy smelling flower to me. Doesn't necessarily smell of honey, but it's got a certain nectariness about it, hasn't it? And that mixes with them traditional kind of makeup-y vintage vibes, you know, all the purple. The violet is the star by a million miles in it, but the honeysuckle is what makes me fall in love with this fragrance. And again, it would just suit like this goddess of spring, you know, little purple wings, sprinkling purple, magical, shiny dust everywhere, and all these flowers starting to grow in that. So for Erstra, completely based on my imagination, not actual facts about her, is Dancing with Strangers from 4160 Tuesday and Tessa. So that's this finished. Probably a brief video. But I like to do these every spring. Last year I did all the May pagan festivals and stuff. I thought we'd go round Easter this time. Who knows what next year will be. But it's just spring is a really special kind of thing. It's not my favourite season of the year. I think we all know I'm a bit of an autumn person. But I am a spring baby at the end of the day. And after winter, which I hate winter, really hate it. I don't mind the darkness, but when it's dark all the time, when it's cold, when it's miserable, when everything's dead, it's just like, ugh. You know, you kind of crave and lust for spring and a bit of warmth and sunshine on your cheeks. I mean, it's quite mild today. There's no filter on it. That's the hazy sun that's basically covered by cloud. But I'm still so glad to be out here and feel a little bit of warmth on my cheeks, wearing a hoodie. Anyway, I'm waffling. But these pagan festivals have been about for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And they're just the way the ancient folk, who were much smarter than us and much more in touch with things, explained how things happened. And they're probably more sane and less ridiculous than modern day religions. You know, they weren't about because God did it. you know, each element of nature in the world was represented by a god, not some angry sky-bearded fella. And obviously Easter came from this. We know the Romans did kind of, were geniuses really, by putting their festivals at the same time as pagan things. It kind of obviously wanted to make people forget about them and concentrate on the new made up religion, which was Christianity. And again, the similarities of the rebirth and all of that. I have nothing, I mean, I study theology and stuff like this. All faiths are equally valid. You know, I have nothing against any of that, but they all come from the original ancient sources, and they've been adapted and changed for things like that over the millenniums, haven't they? And whatever we believe, none of us are right and none of us are wrong, and the only time we're going to know, we won't be around to tell anyone, will we? So, you know, each to their own with all of this stuff. And this has been a very long waffly kind of end to it, but happy spring everyone. The equinox has happened, like I say. This will probably be out round about Easter. So what makes you think of like this festival or Easter? What fragrances take you there? You know, your chocolate eggs, your chocolate bunnies. I don't know what else Easter has that's exciting really. It's just that, isn't it? You know, a nice visit to church, some winey fragrance or something like that could be it, couldn't it? If you've got any favourite indie brands, and I'm still waffling. Alright folks, thanks, bye.